Hello, everyone, and welcome to our ASTOM session about JSON. And the topic today is how to use GoldenGate for MongoDB migrations. The topic about MongoDB migrations has become very popular among customers in the last couple of years, especially in the last 1 year. And we've seen a lot of migrations going on from MongoDB, either on-prem or Atlas to Oracle. And some are to Oracle Autonomous Database, some are to Exadata Cloud Customer. However, customers started demanding that migrations come with minimum downtime. And since when migrating one database brand to another, especially with MongoDB to Oracle, the most common way that we've been migrating customers from MongoDB to Oracle offline was using Mongo Export, Mongo Restore. And the demand for online migrations has come to a point where we need probably to start using GoldenGate. And we'll find out from Alex Kotopoulos from the product management of GoldenGate, who is going to explain to us and make a live demo as well on how to migrate GoldenGate using GoldenGate from Mongo to Oracle. And Alex, over to you.
Thank you, Julian. Hello, everybody. So yeah, my topic today is how to best migrate from MongoDB into Oracle 23 AI, how you can use GoldenGate, and we have a special new tool available that's specific for this use case to make it really easy. And I'm going to show basically an end-to-end from a vanilla environment without even having a target database to a full migration later on. So talking a little bit about MongoDB, it's a great JSON database, so a lot of people are using it. It's there for JSON documents, and so we provide this as well. So when we look at Oracle in comparison, we also provide JSON, but we also provide everything else. So as a converged database, you can have relational, you can have JSON. And the advantage here is that you don't have to deal with a lot of separate databases, and you can have synergy effects where you can access JSON from relational, you can access relational from JSON. You have this duality concepts. So a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go into that because my focus today is migration, but just as an overall context, so this is something that a lot of people want to do. Overall, JSON as a data format is very handy when it comes to application development and you having the application data in a database. First of all, it's schema flexible, so you don't have to define your relational schema in advance. You can create it and update it based on your application needs. You also have less impedance mismatch, which means that your structured data, you're basically the dependent objects within larger objects, the hierarchical nature of your data that's also within your objects can be directly mapped into a hierarchical JSON document. This makes things a lot easier rather than have to translate back and forth between table and relationships and your overall object structure. Finally, the advantage of data exchange, where you have a handy format that is human readable and that's exact the same that's in the database, so you can move it in and out. So for these kind of use cases, JSON works great, and that's also what you can do in the Oracle database. That's also why MongoDB is popular. So these are all reasons to go with the migration, and that's also why Oracle has a full MongoDB API, which makes it easy for you to do the same thing, but on an Oracle database. And what I like about it is that it's super easy to explain. It's basically, it's protocol level support for the MongoDB API. So you can just use the same applications, the same drivers, the same clients in order to talk to Oracle database as if it were a MongoDB database. You don't really have to think about it too much. It's basically, yeah, you got your MongoDB, but it's actually Oracle. And beside this, and I'm not going to go into this, but just as an additional context, there are cost benefits, performance benefits over MongoDB itself in order to use Oracle. So that's something where basically there is a lot of motivation to do this kind of migration. So because of this, we have provided a new tool that we call Oracle GoldenGate for MongoDB migrations. And this is a tool specifically meant to help you with this. It has a graphical user interface. It uses GoldenGate technology under the hood. It boasts the GoldenGate for MongoDB as an underlying technology, as well as or GoldenGate Studio as a user interface with the orchestration engine that provides this great abstraction and makes it really easy. So you don't have to deal with the intricacies of replication when you're doing this migration. We support both online and offline migrations, and more about this later. We support all the databases that MongoDB itself supports, so that are still within their support range. We support as a target Oracle Database 23 AI in all its deployment forms, which might be autonomous databases, which might be Exadata, which might be a base database in OCI. So these different capabilities, for example, also the multi-cloud installations in different clouds than OCI. So all of these are targets that we support. And overall, this GoldenGate for MongoDB migration, which is the nicest probably, is that it's a free license. It's distributed as a Docker image available on Oracle Container Registry, and you can download it. You can use it for 183 days. That's what the license says. The license is renewable, so if you need it longer than that, you can renew it. It's not meant for continuous use. That's why we have this limited license. It's meant for point-in-time migration, where you basically do a migration over a certain time period, and then you should be done with it. Talking about offline and online migration. So if you do an offline migration, this is the simplest form of migration. You just want to do a data export and a data restore for your data. But that also means that you can't have the applications that use your database online all the time. During the period when you do a data export and a data restore, you can't use your application. Otherwise, all the transactions you do during that time are going to be lost. In this picture, you see here your source database, the target database, and the application using those two databases. While you're doing the data dump and restore, your application should be offline. Otherwise, the data dump will only take the snapshot of the database at the very beginning of the data dump. So anything you do to this database will be forgotten. So if you are fine with an offline period, that's a perfectly fine way of doing a migration. If this is if you have downtimes, if this is a development environment, these are all kinds where you can do an offline migration. Or depending on the time it takes, if you're fine with half an hour, or maybe more of downtime, that's perfectly fine. You can use our GoldenGate tool for it, but you can also use straight MongoDB tools such as MongoDB dump and restore and work with this. So when we go into online migration, you see the big advantage of this big blue line here, where the switchover is minimal, as opposed to the entire time when there is a data dump and restore. The way it works is once you do a data dump and restore, the moment that this starts, the transaction ID that is last to be part of this dump and restore, this will be used by GoldenGate to basically cache and keep everything that that comes after this particular transaction. So while the data dump and restore only restores anything from that particular snapshot, GoldenGate is using the MongoDB oplog in order to keep all of these transactions and apply them to the target once the data dump and restore is done. And after that, also, it will replicate anything that happens on the source database to the target database. So none of the transactions that you do during this entire migration phase is going to be lost. And the switchover is going to be short. So the way that it works is at some point you decide you're ready for switchover. At that point, you need to stop all transactions coming from the application, and you just monitor that the last transaction has been applied. You can see the GoldenGate lag for this to see, okay, we're up to date with transactions, so we're ready to do the switch over. So this can be just a matter of a few minutes, and then you're ready to do the switch over. Then you basically take your application and change it to the target database. So you see here, first it was talking to the source Mongo, now it's talking to the target Oracle, and you're done. So this is the ability to minimize your overall downtime. So the starting point for this demo, as I mentioned earlier, I want to have as little as possible. I want to start from a clean slate. All I have is my source MongoDB server. One detail that needs to be set on this MongoDB server is it needs to have a replica set enabled. That's a requirement for online migrations, because GoldenGate acts on the oblog of MongoDB, which is only kept if there are replica sets. So it's okay to have one replica set. In our very initial release of this tool, we required 3 replica sets, and the updated release that just came out a few weeks ago, now we are down to just 1 replica set. So it's basically a configuration on your one database, and you can use it. If this is a production database, which it likely is if you want to have 0 downtime, then you probably already have replica sets, so this is no issue for you. So the only things that we have at the beginning of this demo is we have an empty OCI tenancy. So we have the networking setup that's necessary, and if you want to use autonomous database, you probably already have that. And the other thing is you want to have a machine where you actually want to run the tool. So this is any kind of machine that has a Docker environment, and that could be a VM on OCI itself. And in my case, I have a Linux machine, a Linux VM with Podman running on it. So let's go and take a look at the demo. So starting point is we want to actually have the link for the for our Docker registry, and you see there's a bit of technical difficulties here. So we look at, for example, let's say the MongoDB a blog here, and just a sec. And for example, in this blog, we have the link to the Oracle Container Registry. We also have it as part of this presentation later on, and we'll make all of these links available. So this is the link directly into the entry for our tool within Oracle Container Registry. And at the beginning, you need to sign in to your Oracle account, and once you've done this, you can basically accept all the licenses. So let's sign in to the Oracle account. Then you accept the licenses as the second step. Basically go through. Interesting part here is that you have the 183 days. And so you accept this. And now you're able to use the Docker registry. One thing you still have to do is you have to create a token. So since recently Oracle Container Registry, when you want to use it from outside using the Docker tools, you need to have an authentication token. If you're using OCI, you probably know the concept of authentication tokens. All you have to do here in the container registry is go up there and you need to ask for an auth token. So press the auth token button, go to generate secret key, and copy that key. And so now we're going to our Linux machine where we have the Docker installed, and we're going to do the Docker login to the container registry machine, to the address of container registry, which is the same one as the URL of the container registry. And you basically you use your username, your Oracle username for that you use in order to log into the container registry as a password. You use the auth token. So now you are logged in. Docker can use the registry in order to pull images. So that's great. We go back to the page here, and all we have to do is we copy this Docker run command, and Docker run will download the container and start it at the same time. So we paste the Docker run command. There are a few things that you can change here. If you want to, for example, you can change the port mapping. Let's say you have those ports like 80 and 443 used otherwise on the local machine. You can remap it. And you can also provide an admin name. You can provide an admin password here. You can also, and that's documented in the Docker registry README, you can map volumes of your machine to this. If you're doing a large migration, that might be useful, for example, because we need the intermediate storage of the dump files as part of this machine. So let's say you have terabytes worth of data, you need a place to store these dump files, and you can have an external volume on this machine and map it into this Docker run. It's a -v command. It's all documented fine. So we're coming up with the OGG admin name. We're gonna come up with a password. These are all new defined names, so you can pick whatever you want. Password has a number of password rules that you need to follow, so that's important that you keep it. Otherwise, this Docker run command will fail later because it will break the password rules. So once you have done this, we're going to go through a Docker pull. In my case, that took 1 minute and 50 seconds. So it's not immediate, but it's pretty quick, pulling all the Docker data down, all the image data down. And then the next thing that's happening here is the application starts. So overall, the application is started now. And what you do now is you go to your browser and you enter the name of basically the address of your machine. So this is my machine here where I have Docker running, and we have the GoldenGate Studio running here. So you just have to log in, give the username password that you just defined, and then you're in the user interface. At this point, let's switch gears because we don't even have the target database yet, and go over to OCI and create an autonomous database from scratch. And so that's something that's relatively quick to do. You basically just go to the navigation, you go to Oracle database, autonomous database. You say, I want to create an autonomous database, give it a name. You have a number of choices here, whether you want the data warehouse transaction processing or JSON database, all of these will work for our MongoDB API. JSON is purpose-built for this, but the others have this capability as well. And so one thing you have to do is also we're picking 23 AI. That's our minimum version that we require for this migration. But everything else you can leave default. Can provide a password for the database admin, and you give an email to contact you, and then you create it. And now the database is provisioned. In my case, it took 40 seconds to provision it. It's nice and fast. And after that, you have the database. There are only a couple of things you need to do, and then you have your basically Mongo-enabled database ready. One thing you need to do is you need to enable an access control list. So you have to specify which client IP addresses can be used in order to access this database. So I gave it an IP address here. Next thing we will do is we want to enable the MongoDB API. So that's just a simple switch here. Just say I want it enabled, apply, and you have an enabled MongoDB API ready. So we have everything here. We have the URL here that you can use now with all the clients. You can just cut and paste it. And one more thing I want to do is create a specific user for our MongoDB migration. I'm going to call it Mongo admin, give it passwords, and I'll give it the necessary rights so it can access everything on this database. And now I'm creating a user, and I'm done. So one thing I'm doing now is I'm switching to a client just to show you how it looks like. So this is the standard MongoDB Compass client. I already have my source MongoDB here as a connection. I want to add a second connection to basically go to the to add the MongoDB to the ADB. So here I'm adding, I cut and pasted the URI. I added the password. One thing I also did, let me just go back quickly, is I removed the user here. So that's something you need to do. We don't want to provide a user or database name as part of the URL because we're working with all the databases. So if you're having a data URL both from the source and the target database, you want to remove this user or database name in front of the question mark. So we can work, and MongoDB dump internally can work with all the databases instead of just one. So now we're back to the GoldenGate Studio. Now that we have the source and target database ready, we can now do the migration. We see here we have a flow that describes what you have to do. You have to create the connections, then you create a pipeline. You configure the pipeline, you define what you want migrated, and then you start it, and then the migration happens. So we're going to do that. We're going to define the connections first. And so we press create connection, give it a connection name. This is for the MongoDB source. We have different technology types. You can, in this case, you can pick whether it's a straight MongoDB or a MongoDB Atlas. And if you have any kind of MongoDB compatible database, you just pick MongoDB. You enter the connection string. So I'm pasting it. I'm entering username and password. In the new release, we also have configuration in order to do TLS and MTLS for a secure database. So these are things that are not showing on this screen, but in the very latest release, it is shown here. And so we have the MongoDB source as a connection. We're adding the second connection for the Oracle target. Here we picked technology type. We have Oracle on Autonomous JSON Database or Oracle JSON Collection, which is a general catch-all for all the databases that support MongoDB API. And so you can pick, in this case, we picked Oracle JSON Connection, but you can also pick Autonomous JSON Database in this case. I'm cutting and pasting the connection string here. I'm basically, again, as we did earlier, take out the database name. We can take out the username password because we're entering it further down. And then we press next, we confirm it. And now we have both source and target connection. Next step is we want to create a pipeline. So in this case, we have a pipeline recipe. And this is the overall structure of GoldenGate Studio. In a full-featured GoldenGate Studio, you're going to have more recipes here. In this case, since this is purpose-built just for MongoDB migration, you're going to see just database migration. We pick the recipe. We're going on then, and we're configuring the rest. We give it a name. Here you have the choice between offline and online, which we discussed earlier. We're going to do an online migration here. So this way we can do a full migration from source to target without any kind of downtime. It's described here. So we have the online migration, and this will use both MongoDB dump and restore as well as GoldenGate itself. Connections are pre-filled because we only have one of each, so the system defaulted it already. Now we're going to run validation. You can validate both source and target. It validates a number of things that are necessary. If you look here, you're also going to see the replica set enabled and oblog set enabled. This is checked because we have an online migration. If it were an offline migration, you don't need a replica set. But we do have that, so we're going on. We're validating the target. Everything is good with the target. If there is anything wrong, you have this action menu where you can view details, and this is going to show you any kind of error output. So it's good to know that this menu is here in case anything goes wrong. We will also have logs on the VM itself, but this basically gives you all the information for any kind of failure. So we have a pipeline. It shows us the configuration page now that we have set up the pipeline. It shows us the source and target. It shows us all the databases and collections within the source database. You can pick what you want. In this case, we have 4 databases. You see, you can go down to the collection side. You see that these collections are not present on the target database at this point. And you can pick and choose which one you want to migrate. In this case, we don't want geospatial. We want everything else. So we're going to go ahead with this. I'm saving this. And now I'm ready to actually start the migration. I'm pressing start. And it goes through the initial phase, initial load. This, because the database is relatively small, it takes 30 seconds here. It gives you the progress where you are. And directly after that, it starts to configure GoldenGate and prepares for the replication phase. So now we're done with the initial phase. We're in the replication phase. You see both extract and replicate is running. You see the operations here. If there was any kind of backlog of transactions, this would immediately be worked down at this point. And so there is no backlog. We didn't do any transactions in this short period, so there isn't any. But now let's go back to MongoDB Compass and take a look at the databases, and let's do some transactions. Let's go to the MongoDB source. We're going to go to this collection called Manager, and we're going to do Add Data. Here I have two new records that I would like to add to the collection. So basically I've added this here. I'm inserting it. And let's go back, see what GoldenGate does with it. And you see here it picked these two inserts up and immediately replicated it onto the target. So let's go to the target ADB. Let's take a look. Do we see we have all the collections that got migrated over? And if we go into the HR database and manager here, we do see the 4 records that were on the source as well. So looks good. Everything is going. We're having a full replication. You could have this go on for an extended period of time. In production migrations, often this is a time when you want to test. You want to make sure your target database is all that you want from it. You want to make some non-destructive tests on the target. And once the time has come to do the switch over, these are the steps you would do. You would first stop transactions from the application, so there are no new transactions on the database. Then in this picture, you can see the latency that is part here. So if there is no backlog, if there is a low latency and it's basically up to date with all the transactions, there are no pending transactions. We have worked on everything there is. And at that point, you can go ahead and say, okay, there is no latency. We can go and stop the replication, and we can start the application again on the target database. And that can be a matter of a minute or so in order to get everything over to this target database. So very minimal downtime. So at this point, the migration is over. You have your target application running, and you're done with everything. So I wanted to also tell you there is a nice script from Matt DeMarco. Thanks for this. That can manage your overall Docker for this MongoDB migrations, where it automatically pulls the image, runs a container, and basically lets you manage the entire container lifecycle. So this is a nice environment. You can download it from the article that I've linked here. And overall, basically, that's it. And if you have any question, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. This is a list of useful resources. We have a couple of YouTube videos. The second video here pretty much shows you the demo that I just did. So you can go to that. You can download the Docker image from the container registry with this link. We have a full documentation and more info down here. All right, any questions?
Anyone wants to ask anything? It doesn't have to be related directly to what Alex showed you. You can ask questions also about how to migrate Mongo from Oracle, JSON related questions. All right, Alex, it looks like everything was very clear and you did a great job. And
That's great.
in that
Glad
case,
to hear that.
In that case, probably we can stop the recording and that will be uploaded to most likely to YouTube. So I'd like to thank you first, Alex, for presenting and for doing the demo. And I would like to thank our participants, our attendees who joined in August. And until next time, next presentation will be in September. Thank you very much, everyone, and bye-bye from us. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.